So get up.
Top of the morning to ya.
Now, back to Sunrise on News Radio 880 KCMX.
Good morning, everybody. 34 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to the Sunrise Show, and thrilled to welcome into the studio Klamath County District Attorney Rob Patridge. He's also the board chair for the Oregon Liquor Control Commission. Rob, how are you doing this morning?
Good morning, Craig. Great to see you.
Oh, it's great to have you in. We've talked back and forth. We knew Measure 91 was going to have a huge impact. You've been incredibly busy over in Klamath County with district attorney duties and things like that. Officer-involved shooting. We could spend an hour on that, I know. Measure 91, you just came back from the Oregon State Legislature related to all the committee meetings up there.
Absolutely.
And you are in charge of wrestling this monstrous task. Measure 91, recreational marijuana.
It's a big deal. And Oregon voters put us before us, and we've got about a year to put this into place.
Yeah, and the legislature looks like they've given OLCC $583,000 to start the program, and this is the shocker, a biennium cost estimate, $6.5 million.
Yeah, on an ongoing basis, it's about $6.5 million. We're going to hire about 30 people, and we're going to be all over the state trying to regulate marijuana. And that's just our first look. That's before the legislature goes into session and before we really start peeling the covers off on this thing.
Right, and, taxation, are you going to, the opponents for Measure 91 were saying, be careful what you ask for because it will cost more than we bring in. And
right.
I'm wondering how soon till we get to that break-even point. With the $583,000 and the that's $7 million in 2 years. Are we going to get that back in taxes?
Well, the tax estimates are out there, and it's going to be really interesting to see what they do. The first issue that everybody's had, and right here in Medford, the issue is, are we going to tax it or not at the local level? And, there's a dichotomy between taxing it at the local level and running out the black market. And so,
exactly,
there's a cost curve in there.
The Measure 91 explicitly states that no county or city will have the ability to tax or put on extra fees aside from the state. So how does that work? They're going to have to change it in the legislature.
They're putting the pressure on the legislature as they currently sit. We heard it over the last earlier this week in Salem, and it'll be an interesting dichotomy that they've got to face. But the revenue numbers, the estimates were anywhere from $4 to $70 million a biennia. Just to give you a contrast, liquor is over $600 million a biennia. Okay. So it's compared to liquor, it's really not a lot of money, but it's certainly a lot of regulation. And there's also a lot of opposition. That there's a lot of legislators who aren't in favor of it, obviously, and they don't want to spend one thin dime on it.
Exactly, and here's the next thing is, ladies and gentlemen, let's just come right out and say it. Oregon grows great weed, okay? The best weed in the nation is grown in Oregon, and it's the Triangle, the Humboldt County, whatever, but Oregon. And here's the thing, there's no ability to export it. So this is going to be huge for law enforcement. You're part of that?
Yeah, it's going to be a huge issue for law enforcement. It's going to be a huge issue for OLCC, and there was a lot of talk in Salem on Monday through Wednesday about actually putting the medical marijuana, which is kind of unregulated and a little bit more of the Wild West, under a marijuana regulation with recreational. Right now we've told the legislature we want funding for a seed-to-sale tracking system. So actually we can, we do it in hazelnuts and grass seeds. So,
exactly.
But so we've got some technologists here in Oregon that can help us out along the way. But really that's the only way to retain the tax and protect the kids, is to really track it from where it's grown all the way through. But then we've got this leaky bucket with people's ability to grow 4 plants at their own home. So it's a really, really, it's one thing to brew your own beer at home.
Oh, yeah.
That's a little more complicated process, but to stick a marijuana plant in the corner and cut off a bud now and then, is not quite as complicated.
No, but I've always been, you know what, and it's 12% of the population that smokes marijuana. That's what the estimates are. Nationally, 6%, 9%, depending on the area of the nation. But I've not been worried about that. If you're older and you want to smoke and that's what your thing is, okay, to each his own. But it's the children, the kids that are impressionable, that don't have a career, that don't have a degree, that need to put their whole being into college, school. How can you be functioning if you're just thinking stoned and the world owes you a living? I just don't get that.
Well, I don't get it either, but the Oregon voters didn't get it, and they've made that decision. So we're here as the OLCC I went out actively and opposed it as the DA, but now I'm the chair of the OLCC, and I got a job to do. And as repugnant as it may be, I'm glad that I'm there at the tiller, making sure that we protect the kids. Yeah, no, I get that. We're with Rob Patridge, Klamath County District Attorney and Chair for the Oregon Liquor Control Commission. We've got to take a quick break, and we'll come back. It's massively, I just am having so many thoughts. I mean, it's just such a huge undertaking. I mean, I got to say thank you, Rob, for, just going at it. Well, thank you. I appreciate it, and I'm glad to be there. It's important for my kids and the future of Oregon. Well, exactly right. And my biggest problem is the edibles. Let's talk about that when we come back. Why edibles? I just don't get this pot tarts and these gummy bears and all these little packages. I mean, I get the marketing. I'm in marketing. I get it. But do we have to really take advantage of people in that regard? Let's hope not. No, I know it. All right, we'll come right back. We've got Klamath County District Attorney Rob Patridge and Chair of the OLCC in the studio. We'll take your calls after this break. The phone number for that, 541-772-8255. Here on the Sunrise Show on KCMX News Radio 880. We will be back after these messages.
Now, back to Sunrise on News Radio 880 KCMX.
Swaying through the symphony of destruction.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. 47 minutes after the hour, continuing with Klamath County District Attorney Rob Patridge, and he's the chair for the OLCC, appointed by Governor John Kitzhaber. And congratulations, Rob, by that appointment as well. Well, thanks. I mean, it wasn't something I went out and sought, for sure. No, I get that. But I mean, I think he sees your leadership, and this is a big deal. I mean, Oregon has now gone on to the national stage as being recreational marijuana, made it legal. Colorado, then Washington, then Oregon. Interesting in D.C. what happened back there. They voted at a moratorium, I guess, and President Obama is siding with making it legal, but then he's voting it down in this new funding bill. Pretty interesting. I think it's interesting, the politics that go on in D.C. After spending enough time close to D.C. politics. I know it. Well, and anyway, I don't want to digress onto all of that, but Measure 91 in Oregon, what should people be looking for? I mean, because this is a real big deal. Josephine County voted it down, and when I talked to Josephine County Commissioner Cheryl Walker, she said one of the biggest complaints over there was allergies and the smell from the weed, the skunk smell and the allergies. Absolutely. You know, those are all issues we're going to really have to deal with, and we're going to have to collaborate with local government. And what I've told people is people can go to marijuana.oregon.gov. Okay. And that's what I'd encourage people to do, is go to marijuana.oregon.gov. We're just, like you said earlier, we just got the money to hire people. We're going to do an outreach effort in the first quarter to get out into local communities, to hear what people have to say, to hear what local governments have to say, to hear what the citizens have to say, and to hear what the growers have to say, you know, as well as law enforcement and everybody else. But we're going to try and deal with some of those issues. You know, having 4 plants, there was a question whether it's indoor or outdoor, you know. Lots of people have brought that particular piece up. Why so much? I mean, if a pot plant, I mean, even if you go anywhere from 4 pounds to 40 pounds, that's on a massive plant. Say you're not that good at growing. Say we only get 5 pounds per plant. That's 20 pounds of marijuana. You're only allowed to have 8 ounces. Half a pound. Yeah. So unless people are running it through their heating and air conditioning system, I'm not quite sure what they're doing with it. And that's a felony. If they try to sell it, if they try to have that, that is still a felony. Absolutely. And so we're very concerned about that. I know the legislature is very concerned about that. But only the legislature can do something about the quantity of plants. We can't do anything at the OLCC, but we can help regulate
what they're doing, how they're behind things, what kids are going to have access to. And so it's a very, very big concern by everybody. I'm really concerned about the edibles.
Oh,
you brought that up before.
I know it.
I mean, we're looking at some of this product that they're processing that's 90% THC, that's called shatter, or some of these butters and things like that. So we've got a lot of big concerns that we've got to deal with, and I think the legislature, even those who are proponents, are very, very concerned about.
You know, it's interesting. The individuals that have suffered, young people that in Colorado that have died over this, a lot of it is ingestion. I mean, the high from smoking it is entirely different than from ingesting it and having it go through your stomach lining. And if you eat too much, I mean, it could be a poisoning. It could be a marijuana poisoning
Absolutely.
issue.
That's what they're doing, you know. They eat these brownies, they don't feel an effect, so they eat a bunch more, and then they get poisoned and sick and have to go to the hospital. It's really, really bad stuff. And the educational piece is going to be a really, really tough thing.
Yeah. I mean, I have, kids going through high school, and my daughter, when she was there, believe it or not, North Medford, okay, sorry, Black Tornado, but the issues came up that one of the girls was waiting for her shipment of brownies, and the way they do it is they seep the marijuana leaves in butter, and then they seep it, and just like tea leaves, until it's a certain amount of time, low temperature. They pull out the leaves, and then you have this THC butter, and you can make anything you want. It's like these kids, these high schoolers, are having to deal with this.
Absolutely. And we don't know the quantities. They have no way of testing it. It's disturbing. And it's,
very disturbing.
At least alcohol, people know how much alcohol by volume it is. It's printed right on the label. And while we have people who are doing some stills, it takes a lot of work.
One of the things, Rob, I wonder if the excess of marijuana based off of the 4 plants and only having 8 ounces, which is half a pound, you can't even give the weed to a dispensary or to a certified grow site because they don't know how it's grown, so it wouldn't qualify for certified marijuana, right?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. And so that's why the seed to sale tracking system and the full-blown commercialization of it I think creates a lot of public safety, frankly. It creates a lot of
angst, right? Yeah.
That can take away some of that, too.
I mean, think about property value. If your home is for sale and a marijuana pops up next door and there's these 8-foot plants that are, they're monsters. They're 5 foot in diameter, 8 foot to 10 foot tall when they get going. And all of a sudden you smell that smell and you're trying to sell your home. What about the property?
It's a huge problem. And, and a lot of cities and counties are going to have to deal with that zoning issue. Now they're going to have to be under the recreational side. They're going to have to be licensed. So consequently, some zoning things can come into play. But on the medical side, it's kind of a free-for-all right now.
Exactly. And then Commissioner Breidenthal brought up related to taxing zones, and he said what happens is the dispensaries up in the north, there's more per capita, so if it's per dispensary that the taxation would happen, they would get the majority of the money, and the monies in our county wouldn't be that much because there aren't that many dispensaries.
Absolutely. And then a lot of counties are going to opt out. Under the Measure 91, counties can opt out. So they can have no recreational marijuana. So it's going to be an interesting patchwork that we're going to have to put together.
So taxation, this money now, we have that. It's not going to get rid of the black market. That's the big fear. Rob, we're out of time. Dang it.
Well, thanks for having me.
We're going to have you back.
We'll be back. Happy to be involved.
Exactly. Rob Patridge, ladies and gentlemen, Klamath County District Attorney and Chair for the OLCC. We'll be talking about this. We're following it along. So Rob will either be by phone, or we lucked out having him in the studio this morning. And Rob, you got big business going on. So
it's a huge business, and we need everybody's input. So go to marijuana.oregon.gov and sign up to get the emails and find out about what's going on.
That's exactly right. Okay, the Bloomberg Market Update is next. We'll be back more on the Sunrise Show after this.